Hey guys, this is Ed, Paul, and Anna of Curb Media, and we are here to tell you a little bit more about our sponsor.
Sportsball is a great subscription service geared towards minor league baseball fans. Each box features a different minor league team.
You get a box every 3 months with minor league baseball gear, including different styles of hats like Ed's favorite, the dad hat. The cost is less than $12 a month.
Proceeds from each box goes to More Than Baseball, the only nonprofit dedicated to the well-being of minor league baseball players.
We all know that Parents' Days are coming up this summer, so if you've got a mom or a dad or a grandma or a grandpa who are particularly difficult to buy for, but you know they're baseball fans, this is the answer, guys.
Meet your new favorite team at sportsballbox.com.
Is there anybody there? So my dad says goodbye to all his teammates and everything and hitchhikes back to Spokane. So thinking about the time and the place then. Hitchhikes back to Spokane. Bus continues on the road trip towards Seattle and goes over a cliff.
What's up, Dad Hat crew, and welcome to the Dad Hat Chronicles podcast. This week, I was joined by John Lorkey. He is the GM of the Alaska Gold Panthers. Listen, if you're a fan of baseball, you need to know this team, the Gold Panthers. They play one of the most iconic games that has been around in baseball for a long time, the Alaska Midnight Sun game. That's right. If you're a baseball fan, this needs to be on your bucket list, guys. On this part one, we discuss his love for the game. We go into, he goes into some of the coolest and wildest stories about his dad, Lucky Lorkey. That's right. You guys got to listen to it. It was a lot of fun. And then also, we touched on the Midnight Sun game. Just a little bit, right, on this part one. So, guys, without further ado, I'll give you the episode. All right. Welcome back, guys, to yet another episode of the Dad Hat Chronicles podcast. My name is Ed, and with me, gentlemen and ladies, I have John Lorkey. You, sir, you run one of the most iconic teams, collegiate wood bat teams in all of the U.S., the Alaska Gold Panthers. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, Ed. Appreciate the invite and love being here with you.
Absolutely. We were talking offline that I was supposed to go up there this summer to go see one of the games, and unfortunately, it's not going to be able to happen, but I'll make it. Trust me, I will make it up there just so I can watch a game. It's always been on my bucket list of things to do. So, but I digress. Let's get back to you. Let's start with you. How did you become a fan of this beautiful game that we call baseball?
Well, I was fortunate because I grew up in a family that's all about baseball because my dad was in the big leagues.
Nice.
My dad played. My dad broke in '47 with the New York Giants on the Polo Ground there, and actually played on the '51 team, which is the Bobby Thompson Miracle of Coogan's Bluff and all that, with the home run shot heard around the world and all that. So he played there. Then he got traded after the '51 to the Phillies. But no, I was fortunate. Grew up with a father that had played Major League Baseball. I was born just as he was finishing his minor league career. My older brother, 7 years older than me, Kurt, he was a extremely good baseball player. Got drafted in 1971 out of Santa Clara with the Boston Red Sox, third rounder. 51st guy taken. He got as far as Double-A, didn't make it all the way, but I wasn't any good, so I had to get involved in an administrative way when I was in college and got into things like sports information director, stats, radio, press releases, things like that.
That's awesome.
So you can imagine why I might have a little interest in
just a little interest in baseball.
Yeah, so we grew up in throughout California. But in my, younger days near Sacramento and that, so when the Giants moved west and that, we would occasionally go to Candlestick Park, and my dad's going to say hello to some of his old friends, Charlie Fox and Wes Westrum, Willie Mays, Herman Franks, guys like that. And I'm hanging with my dad. And
That's
I'm,
awesome.
I'm in the clubhouse, and there's this guy, and there's Marichal, and there's Cepeda, and you just stand over there. I'm going to say hello to some old friends, and there's something to eat there if you want it. Don't mess around, and you and your brother behave yourself. I'll be back in a little bit. Okay. So, so yeah, it's pretty fortunate. And then there's some stories about my dad that I won't go too long without having you ask me another question. But yeah, there's some famous things about my dad that are quite crazy. Yeah,
You know what? I'm not even going to ask you the questions. You go ahead and you go, my friend. I'm okay with this right now.
Well, if you're familiar at all with certain areas, obviously New York and that, and so my dad graduates in 42. None of this is embellished either. This is all like, you got to be kidding me kind of stuff. I won't, because it doesn't need anything
Right.
to be enough. Okay, so my dad gets out of high school in 42 in Los Angeles, starts his minor league career in Idaho Falls. And the next thing you know, like a lot of guys, he's in the service. He's got to help out. He's got to help out World War II. So he lands at Normandy in Omaha Beach, Battle of the Bulge. Just like the Private Ryan, right? The movie, and he's up in the Battle of the Bulge and all that, and he's coming home. He's coming home from the war, and a guy he still hasn't been on a plane. The guy with higher rank than him is getting ready to get on a plane, and my dad's like, well, what can he say? The guy with higher rank says, hey, I'm taking this flight, you take the next one. And the plane crashes with no survivors as he's coming home from the war. And that's in 45, right? I think it took forever, from what I've read, for those guys to get back from Europe too after they finished. It was like a couple months before they finally got back. And then in 1946, he's playing in Spokane, which is Class B ball.
Yeah.
Because there's no Major League Baseball west of St. Louis at that point.
Right. Yeah.
Right. 46. So he's the best guy on the team, and the rumors are that he's moving up. Yeah. But word travels pretty slow in 1946. So
not like it does today, right?
Not even close. So he's got him. They're going to make the Spokane Indians are going to head toward Seattle to play the Rainiers, and they're on a bus trip.
Mm-hmm.
And about halfway across, a cop catches up to the team while they're having lunch at a diner in Ellensburg, and says, "Hey, Lorky, you need to get back to Spokane. You're being recalled." My dad's going to go all the way to AAA, all the way to San Diego. You talk about a leap. He's 24 years. No, he's only 22 at that time. And I'm completely fine with this being a lot about my dad at the outset. But so then so my dad says goodbye to all his teammates and everything, and hitchhikes back to Spokane. So thinking about the time and the place, then hitchhikes back to Spokane. Bus continues on the road trip towards Seattle and goes over a cliff in the Snoqualmie Pass. It was a very famous thing that took place in Spokane, not outside Spokane at that point, but it's the Spokane team.
Yeah.
9 guys died. Both his roommates died.
Jeez.
And it took him a little while to get to San Diego, but it was at that point my dad got the nickname Lucky Lorky, and there's a lot of people in baseball that know of that.
Yeah.
And then he breaks in 47 as a rookie with the Giants. He does real well then. Mel Ott's managing. And Leo DeRocher takes over. But he hit the home run in 1947. The Giants broke the Yankees home run record for a team for a season, which was like 183. And the Giants ended up hitting 221 that year. So they broke it in a crazy fashion. I even got my dad's ring from that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Look at that.
You can see the 221 in it.
Yeah, look at that.
Kind of from the side. Yeah. So, he hit the one that broke it. And but as the Giants changed over the years, Leo DeRocher took over. They went out and got some famous guys, Eddie Stanky and Alvin Dark. And my dad's playing time went down pretty good. He pinch hit twice in that 51 World Series. The famous where the Giants come back and catch the Dodgers about 13 and a half games back, with 6 weeks to go. So anyway, Yeah.
This is so wild.
I wasn't going to tell you. I said, how much do you know about the Lorky
No,
family?
you know what? And I'm literally just like, I'm glad that I didn't. A lot of the times I prefer not to do a lot of research on the people I speak with, just
Yeah.
because I want it to be as genuine as possible, right?
Yeah. I hope
Listen,
that's genuine.
this is wild. And I'm literally, as I'm talking to you now, I'm on my other screen, and I'm like, all right, let me look up,
Yeah, you could
Lucky
look it up on the
Lorky.
internet and that. Yeah. He passed away in 09. He's in Sports Illustrated, things like that. So it's especially in New York,
MLB.com literally has Jack Lucky Lorky cheated death 6 times.
Yeah. So I mean, you can count the war how many times you want. There's obviously 2 famous ones with the bus crash and the plane crash coming back from the war, but I don't know. I gotta believe. Yeah, I mean, he was even in National Enquirer one year. I think it was like 1995, and they did an article like that: "World's luckiest man cheats death 6 times. Prove you're luckier than this guy, and we'll send you $250." It's like, I gotta believe a lot of guys in the war topped that quite easily, but anyway, they got to make something of it, right?
You know what though? That's awesome. I love it. Look at him, like in his uniforms right there with
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah, but obviously he never liked the nickname. It brought back the memories. It brought back all that kind of stuff. So a lot of guys in the media, I'm sure you're familiar with Baseball Reference.
Yep.
But you know how that's somewhat similar to Wikipedia, where you can leave comments and that kind of stuff. And one sports writer called him, years later, 40 years, 50 years later, and wanted him to talk about it. And my dad hung up on him. It's like, how many times am I going to be asked this? Guys didn't talk about the war. They didn't, they just didn't. And this, I wrote something in Baseball Reference that, basically, he was tired of talking about it. Obviously, I wasn't even, I hadn't lived with my dad for a number of years. I'm sure when he got this phone call, and he was quite older, and he was somewhat done with it. And man, that's probably an understatement.
Yeah,
but
once you're known for that, right, and everybody keeps asking you over and over and over again,
you've said everything you're going to say.
Yeah,
for 40 years. So this sports writer, I can't remember who it is. Probably best that his name not come out anyway. But it's like I've talked to something similar to this. I'm paraphrasing, but something similar. Like I've talked to a lot of guys who I'm asking them questions about things they really don't want to talk about, and it was fine. Well, you can't equate a guy that had a 5-21 season on the mound with a 5 ERA to a guy that lost a bunch of friends in the war and in a bus crash. You can't. There's no similarities there, and that's where he was going with this. And I didn't even reply to that. It's like, if you can't see that from a human standpoint, then there's no help.
Yeah, from the human side of things, like he lost friends, that's been,
oh my God,
through so many things that, at that point, if you don't get it, you're never going to get it. So forget it.
Yeah. And I'm not going to get into a back and forth with some sports writer. He'll take it and he'll go past Baseball Reference and he'll write an article in the, Chicago Tribune. And, so yeah, you move on.
There you go. But you know what? Indeed, he was lucky. If he cheated death 6 times, and then obviously good for him. And obviously, I mean, I'm looking at some of this stuff right now online. It's truly amazing.
It is. It really is.
It's
why were we? Let's see. Were we going to talk about the Goldfanners?
Yeah, right. What's it like?
Where were we again?
But you know what though? All right, we got that part of the way. We might come back to that later. But I want to know about you. Like, you say that you got into baseball a different way than your father and your brother. How, from your standpoint, because like, I mean, I was never good enough to.
How did you go from California to Alaska?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I had, throughout my life, I'm in California. So born in LA, and that I get into the Bay Area in my high school days, and I went to Santa Clara University. Obviously, the Alaska League gets started, in 60 and that. And my brother ended up playing somewhere in Boulder, Colorado when he was in his summer college days and that. And I'm not even sure I'd even heard about it at that point, even though he did play up here one of his summers. His team came up here to play. But basically, I had helped out in the baseball and the entire athletic department at Santa Clara. And I'd graduated in 79. still working, helping the basketball and the baseball team in 1980. In the spring of 1980, the Gold Panthers were starting another team in Fairbanks because, and it's still, some of it is still out there today, some of the things that shouldn't happen were just teams kind of butt heads with each other and make it more about that instead of about baseball. And the Gold Panthers said, well, we'll start another team in Fairbanks. Shared the park with them, and the coach who was going to be running the team was coming from Santa Clara. He was the assistant coach.
Mm-hmm.
So I helped him out of school. I said, well, help me out, help you out up there, whatever you need, stats, radio, let me see if I can get you up there with me. So the next thing you know, I'm in Fairbanks, and the Gold Panthers are overseeing all of that. They're overseeing that other team's existence and all that. Yeah. But this coach is really handling most of the recruiting. And some of the guys from Santa Clara were going to be on the team because at that time in 1980, Alaska was still the pinnacle of summer baseball.
Mm-hmm.
It's not anymore. The Cape is, but it was, top notch. So, I come here in 1980 and I'm obviously a North Pole Knicks, so, that's where my loyalties are. Yeah. But the Gold Panthers, there's Kevin McReynolds, there's Alvin Davis, there's Harold Reynolds, there's Bill Plesac was 1981. There's half a dozen big leaguers on that team, so I'm just having a ball. And as the summer wore on, a couple of the business people that were behind it all, helping get our organization off the ground, in addition to the Panthers, asked me to stay. They said, we don't really have anyone with your background and baseball and, mm-hmm. that could really keep this thing going. You're going to go home, and for this, because everybody takes off at the end of the summer. We got to go back to school. The players go back to school. The coaches go back. No one sticks around, over the winter. Anybody with any baseball sense isn't going to stick around.
They're like, we're getting out of here.
Below, So, and they asked me to be the general manager of the Knicks. We were called the North Pole Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
You probably never heard of that team, but it's real. North Pole is a town about 15 miles outside of Fairbanks. There's an Army Air Force base out there. Fairbanks has an Army base. So a lot of the areas has a lot of military to it. So I'm just having a ball. I get to help run a baseball team at 23 in Alaska. So I went home that winter because I hadn't planned on happening.
Yeah.
And came back March 1st of 81, and I've been here ever since.
So you just said, all right, this is where I'm going to be, and I'm not going anywhere else.
Well, what an opportunity.
Right.
And you get into California, and a lot of big areas, so, with higher population, you can get lost. It's like, this is a place for me to kind of make my niche. This is the type of town where I can, do something, maybe make a difference. Not that I couldn't somewhere else, but I just had that thought that, but there probably wasn't a whole lot of thought to it. It shocked me. And I says, well, absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
Where do I sign? So I went home, told my parents I went home in that winter and came back and got off the plane. There's like no money in the bank, and somebody gave me a place to live. The president of the team, who was a guy out in North Pole, said, you can live with me until you get off on your feet, and there's a desk you can work out. There's a phone, and go raise some money because the season opener's in about 3 months.
Oh my God.
But we're playing at a park where that's fine. We're using someone else's park, so much of that is there. But had a ball. A lot of guys from the West Coast, so Cal, Santa Clara, UCLA, USC, Stanford, San Jose State. That's where we're getting
those were some interesting uniforms.
You don't have to go out of the the West a whole lot to put a good club on the field. So.
Right.
Yeah,
those were some interesting uniforms, I gotta say, though.
That first one, I don't know if you see the red one, the candy stripe, the red one. Yeah, we were shown those initially. I had nothing to do with that, and I say that. The man who ran the Gold Panthers, who's just the pinnacle of general managers for semi-pro baseball, Don Dennis, who's still with us. He's down in Alpine, California, near San Diego. He had just a sense, and I was all him or whatever, but he had a sense of doing uniforms that were just out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
I mean, they'd wear blue pants and all this kind of. So for the Knicks, you got to play up the Christmas theme.
Right.
So he had something like the Santa Maria Indians used to wear, which is a red uniform, but now you put the white candy cane stripes on it, and you got something. The players first looked at it and said, "I am not wearing that." I am not wearing that uniform. I changed it. I changed it in '82 to a much more traditional uniform that I really enjoyed putting together, with North Pole on the front, the gray with the red and green. I don't know if you've seen that one.
Yep, and then it has the stripes on the side of on the arm going down.
Yeah, I kind of combined the Expos and the Mets uniforms at that point, and I think it turned out pretty good.
No, I'm a fan. I'm a fan. I like those uniforms that are like that from the 80s and 90s. I'm a huge fan. Listen, I grew up a Cleveland Indians fan, right? So, like, when you see like the Indians, they had the stripe down on the side.
Oh, yeah.
Everything. Look at the movie Major League, right? So it was like just like that.
Great
so,
stuff. Yep.
When I see that, I'm like, man, but yeah, those candy cane uniforms in red and white.
Oh, yeah.
Woo-wee.
Yeah, those had to be retired after 2 years. Yeah. Yeah.
You're like,
not even anyway.
The manager was like, no, I'm not wearing away.
The first year we had hats that were like foam and trucker hats that snapped, and they were so bad. But we ended up having an NP. I don't know if you see that, but we ended up having a dark green hat with a white NP on it that was just it really turned out well.
I'm gonna need somebody like 47 brand or New Era to come up and do a little bit of a touch up on that logo and then release those hats, because those would be so cool.
Do you see it there?
Sell. I'm trying to look for.
I might, if I can walk away for about 5 seconds.
Go for it.
I might have it behind me.
Man, look at those red stripes. Killing me. I'm gonna try to put it on the video.
I just got back from California yesterday. There's my dad's old uniform.
Oh my God, look at that. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's my dad's old uniform. I used to wear it for Halloween.
That is beautiful.
It's got to be 100% wool.
I was just gonna say, look at that. That looks thick.
Yeah, there's his name in it.
Man. Oh, that is beautiful. That is some memorabilia history right there, my friend. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm struggling.
No, it's fine. I mean,
it's around somewhere.
I'm laughing at the fact that, like, there's some uniforms out there with that. And I see the NP. Oh, that is nice. Oh, the green one.
Yes.
Somebody
came up with that, and I said, "That's it. It flows, just like a P, the Phillies P. I mean, it just kind of, it's really fluid. I didn't want something all blocky, so it looks good." I don't know. I'm kind of biased.
No, I'm with you. No, I love it. I think that's amazing. You kept the colors, but at the same time, it's like, beautiful. Look at that. And then playing in Alaska, is that? I'm kind of looking. I think I see a picture of 1989. Was that Jorge Posada?
No, we were. The team ended in '87.
Okay.
Now, from my selfish standpoint, the team ended in '87. I got an opportunity in '82, and even prior to that in '80, I would have met, because he was one of the guys that really helped get the team off the ground, a guy named Ralph Seekins, who owned a Ford Lincoln Mercury dealership here in Fairbanks.
Okay.
And after a couple years of the typical nonprofit semi-pro baseball, revenue, I went to him after the '82 season and said, "I need a job. This is stuff, I gotta start eating something better than this, And so I ended up working for him for 35 years. And after at the end of the '87 season, I got an opportunity to get into management at the Ford dealership, and I put the semi-pro baseball thing aside. So prior to 2005, I was never really involved with the Gold Panthers at all. I was a North Pole Nick person, and then I set it aside, and then he ended up buying a dealership down toward what's called the Kenai Peninsula here, which is another team in the Alaska League, the Peninsula Oilers, and I was actually on their board and was the president of their board from like '99 to 2001. So then I moved back up here in 2002 and got on the board, started housing players. So that's when my loyalties for the Gold Panthers started. But the Knicks were, I mean, we had guys you'll know. I mean, we had like 26 major leaguers in 7 years. We had Mark Grace. Steve Finley, Eric Karros, Todd Zeile. Oh man, yeah, Luis Gonzalez.
I was just going to read his name, Luis Gonzalez. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah.
Oh my, Blankenship, Sean
Chad
Barton,
Kruger, Mike Schooler. Yeah, some real good players.
Wow,
you know?
Look at that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
There's one of the famous, he's passed away now, it's been a couple years, but a guy who was a Hall of Fame baseball coach originally out of college in the Canyons, but he was a USC guy. And the Knicks had a real bad season in '82. I didn't like the manager, and he couldn't come back. The original guy did 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Should have never got rid of him. I was young at the time, and I asked him, the guy that couldn't return as the coach because there were circumstances he really couldn't control, and I said, "What do you think? I need guidance here." Mm-hmm. And he says there's a guy at College of the Canyons named Mike Gillespie. And Mike Gillespie is a guy who went on to took over for Rod Dedeaux at USC and won the national championship at UC Irvine. I think he may have won one at SC. I'm not sure, but he put us on the map. He's the guy that got us going in '83, and he got his feet wet. But '85, '86, '87, we beat the Gold Panthers 2 of those 3 years with we were as good as anybody in the country. And it was really, really fun time. 1985, our entire infield went to the big leagues.
Wow.
Our entire infield ended up going to the big leagues. Todd Zeile, Chris Donalds, Andy Stankiewicz, Paul Ferries, Mark Grace. Yeah, I mean, to think that catcher, first, second, third, would all end up going to the big leagues. That's the kind of talent that was coming through here. I had Steve Finley and Luis Gonzalez in the same outfield in '86. Yeah, this is where the guys came.
That's amazing. Like, and I'll be honest, like, before I got into what I'm doing now, the podcast and everything, like, I was oblivious to other things, like, with mainstream media, they'll tell you, like, the cream of the crop, they go to the Cape Cod and everything. But, like, you don't know, like, there's other collegiate woodbats, Northwoods League, your league, right?
Yeah.
Right. There's so many leagues nowadays that, like,
there is so many leagues. You're right.
Like, so many collegiate woodbat that is so much fun and filled with so many talent right now. It's wild.
Yeah, it is. And there is a lot. There weren't just many leagues at that point. Guys either played in probably a half a dozen leagues around the country, or they just played around home. They didn't, they didn't really take off. But Alaska is one of those unique things. If you're going to have a future in professional baseball, you're never going to get a chance to come up here and play unless it's in the summer. Mm-hmm. That's when you're going to come up here. And as a college player, you'll come up here in the summer. If you get drafted out of high school, you're not going to Alaska. It's a summer college thing. And you're not going to come through here at all if you're in the minor leagues. It's just not going to happen. So, it's pretty unique that way. And it's just a different experience. There's no way to describe it or have a player say what another player is like. You can't describe the Midnight Sun game unless you're here. There's just no way. And coaches have told me that's the best baseball experience I've ever had. That was amazing.
It's so my bucket list, my friend. I cannot tell you how much I want to be there this year. Oh man, it's like, just to be there and to experience that. Like, there's a lot of things that people tell you, right, about baseball. Oh, you got to go to Wrigley Field. You got to go to Fenway, right?
Right.
If you really do meet a true baseball fan, they'll tell you, you have to go and check out the Midnight Sun game. Those are the things that they'll tell you. It's so
unique. It's got a small town flavor to it, and it's, it's not cookie cutter. It's not like going to, so many. I think it's great what Major League Baseball has done is so many of these ballparks around the country now is get away from what took place in the '80s, where it just seemed like so many parks looked identical. Mm-hmm. And now, I think Camden Yards started it with the way they set their stuff up, and now you see a bunch of it. I mean, you go you go watch the Giants play in San Francisco now, and that park is I mean, when you're walking up above right field fence and you're looking down on the water of the bay, it's like, wow, it's just gorgeous. But a lot of parks have that now. It's just really, really nice to see.
You gotta, they have to take advantage of the skyline or something unique about that area. Like you said, San Francisco, Pittsburgh, right there, PNC Park, right? You gotta look at something, Cincinnati Reds, right there by the river. So there has to be something that attracts them to keep coming back. And they are changing. I'm glad that all ballparks are starting to be different. They're starting to, make it more about a social experience and baseball as well. So,
yeah, have those different parks. I think it's cool with Fenway. You got the big green wall, but it's a short porch. You have those kind of things. You got places, at Dodger Stadium down the lines where the fence is about 3 feet high. It's just, there's just some great unique things like that.
Oh, that's amazing. So let's talk about that. You mentioned the Midnight Sun game. In your opinion, why is it so popular, and why is it so, obviously the one key part about it being unique is midnight, but why is it?
I think it's that and the fact that you can play a game and start at 10 o'clock and not use the lights. We don't need the lights all summer because of how much the sun is up in Alaska throughout the summer. But the one night where we might be able to use the lights is a night where I wouldn't dare turn them on. I'd get shot if I tried to turn the lights on the Midnight Sun game. So there's that, and it's the history, how long it's been going.
Yeah.
You talk about 1906, that's a long time ago. And we actually during COVID, we weren't playing that summer, but we had a local American Legion team was going to put together an all-star team, and they were going to play the men's league all-star team, and they were going to play each other up here. So because the game itself predates the Gold Panthers by 50 some odd years, so it's now a Gold Panther hosted event since '60, but it wasn't. Mm-hmm. And it was a brutal night for weather. June 21 of 2020, and the Legion team actually backed out, saying we don't want to get any kids hurt. It's the men's league, I don't care.
Yeah, don't play.
There's not a lot of futures there. Nobody's saving their arm for anything. So the men's league ended up putting two teams together and pulled it off and played in awful weather to keep the tradition going of the Midnight Sun game. So that was pretty cool.
So this seems to me like a made for movie right there. That I was like, all right, we're going to do this. Here's what we got to do. I think it's, and the fact that it continued, right? There's no stoppage of that tradition.
Yeah. Awesome. The guy that kind of oversaw the whole thing is on our board of directors, and boy, he carried the torch for the whole organization and just the town for keeping that thing alive that summer. It was awesome.
Amazing. I love that. Hope you guys enjoy that episode with John. Now, make sure you guys stay tuned for part 2, all right? Part 2 comes out next week. We finish our conversation about the Gold Panthers, the Midnight Sun game. We go into all of the details regarding the baseball league up in Alaska, as well as, obviously, my famous, not so famous questions that he had fun answering. So, and then, guys, just wanted to make sure that you guys, like I said, following the team. Make sure you're following the Dad Hat Chronicles on my podcast channel, YouTube, Twitter. Listen, I'm everywhere. Okay, the link is on the show notes. Make sure you guys are following. It is greatly appreciated. So now that I've done all that, let's get into the dad joke of the episode, and here it is. Why do miners make good accomplices? They don't snitch. They're good at minding their own business. All right. I'll see myself out. And until then, guys, keep on grinding and always support the minor leagues. See ya.
This podcast is part of the Curved Brim Media Network. Here are some of the other members of Curved Brim Media.
Hi, this is Ed Rivera of the Dad Hat Chronicles. Join me as I interview people just like you and players, coaches, GMs on the path that led you to become a fan of the sport.
I'm Paul Caputo, and on the Baseball by Design podcast, I talk to minor league baseball teams, designers, and other super interesting people about what these minor league baseball logos mean. And I talk a little bit about ice cream helmets.
What's up, Bucketheads? I'm Anna DiTomaso, and each week on the Baseball Bucket List podcast, I speak with a different fan about their favorite baseball memories, what the game means to them, and what's left to check off on their baseball bucket list.
Hey guys, this is Patrick Larson from the Minor League Baseball Hat History Series, and in every episode I go through the history of minor league teams through my personal collection of hats. You can find me on Twitter at PatLarson1. I hope you guys enjoy.
This is Patrick
and Corey
of BaseballMapper.com, and we have made an interactive map to help highlight all baseball teams from the majors down to collegiate summer leagues.
We want to bring you closer to baseball. So get on the site and find a team near you today.
Learn more about Curve Brim Media at curvebrimmedia.com.